Glad to see you again. So last time we left, we were talking about PowerApps and how to create interesting forms for putting in data. Today, I want to talk to you about how do you take that data and attach it to a business process. Now, let's go back to our app designer. Remember, this is where we were. So I'll share my screen and we can pick up from where we left last time. So remember, this is a form that we created last time, and let's put this back up. This is a form that we had. We created interesting things. We put it in a form. Now, today I want to focus on how do you attach that to a business process. And right here, you will see business process. I'll just click right there, and it'll show you the different interesting processes. But today we want to create a process for an invoice. Cool. So here's where we create a new process, and we're gonna call this our new invoice process. Cool. And what we want to attach this process to an entity. So we'll just come down here and look for our invoice. Invoice is right there. Click OK. And it'll pop up an editor that can now start allowing us to create very interesting things. So the first step we see is the different stages, and you can create different stages. So let's say for every invoice, it has to go through an approval, or it has to go through, and that's our first stage. And what data do we want to put in the first stage? So we'll just call this new stage. What do we want to do with this invoice? The first data we want to make sure is on there is the invoice name, right? And this is where, if you be careful about this, always every time you name something, click apply, because if you don't, it'll actually disappear. And I'll show you how this gets messy. So we can add different things to this step. We can add more data steps. So if we want to make sure we verify certain data, so let's go click another data step, and we add that right there. And this other data step is we want to know what currency we're storing for this. Actually, let's put in who the owner is, and we'll just apply step there. And then we want to go back to components and create a second stage. Now, this second stage is where we start talking about money. And I know in our invoice, we didn't put money, but we can set up this as qualification. Already predefined categories already here, so we can get your invoice from for qualification to a develop stage, propose, close. So in this case, we want to develop this invoice. And I'll just call that. Now remember, as I said, every time you create something, click apply, because that's how you want to save it. Now, in here, we also have a data step, and in this data step, we want to add, let's see, what do we add in here? Who is this customer? And let's say that's where we want to apply our conditions. Now we can add interesting conditions, like let's say every time, let's add a step here and say, and notice here this already disappeared. So let's say, what is our condition? So this customer, and notice our condition is based on account, the operator is equals to, had to go fix a quick issue on amount, so we'll come back to our form here. Let me just refresh that, do that again, open up that form. We want to add the amount so that we can go add it as part of our business process. So for you guys who are interested in the mistake we made and how we debug that issue, feel free to stay till past the end of the video, and we'll share some of the bloopers. All right, cool. So we come here to customer, and we add the invoice amount, and it's right there. There we go. And all we need to do is hit save, and we'll verify that amount. So while that loads, and we'll just hit publish there, and that's gonna go and publish that form. And so it's actually gonna show up, if we refresh our invoices page, that'll actually show up. So if I hit new, might take a second to load, but there we go. So when we look at a new form, we now have an amount there that we can add. Cool. So let's go back to our designer and our business process. We'll just go click business process, new invoice there. Give that a second to load. And this is sort of where we define our business process. Now, remember, we put in a condition and said, hey, what is our condition step? For the field amount, if the amount is greater than, and let's say in this value we want, let's say $1,000, we want to know exactly what this, and later on I'll show you how to go define which currency we're using. I'll just hit apply to that, and that's a data step. What do we want to do with this? We can go and say, do something, and we can add a component and it requires an approval, and you can use Microsoft Flow to start an approval. So I can just add that there, go create an approval, and once that approval is created on Power Automate, I can just come search for it and hit apply. Now right now it will probably hit an error because we haven't created the flow, but that's the idea. So every time this goes for the approval, that does that. If no, it'll continue the process, and in this process we want to say propose, and this say we want to add an action here. It's a data step, and we can go add a data step there, but we can also add an action and say, hey, go do XYZ things. Understand that. We can add workflows, we can do very interesting things, we can create processes. So now we hit a bit of an error, and the condition, let's use a condition that has to be in the previous step. So in this case, we use this data step that says owner. If the owner equals 2, in this case, we can search who this owner is, and I will call myself, and we can create different groups. Now remember, this pulls a lot of stuff from your Office 365. So if you have a group that has people, in this case, I'm just going to find myself. And just say if that condition is me. Okay, we seem to be having an issue here. Oh, good. There we go. So now, if the owner, in this case, is me, go change the status. Go do something. We can say go change status or whatever field that we have in there. And how we activate this step is by clicking save and then validate, and then I want you to activate. Now once we create this amazing business process, we'll click activate, and that might take a second to load. Your browser might freeze for a second. Cool. So now that our business process is activated, so we'll just hit save. So now that our process is saved, if I come to invoices again and click new, one of the interesting things you'll start noticing the difference is it'll create for me the different stages that I have, and I can pre-name the stages. So my first stage was that, and it has a couple of things that I need to put in there, and what's the second stage, what's the status, and who the account is. And so as you go put in this information and can create different tabs for information, it allows you to do very interesting things. So that's how you can create a fully customized business process. Now we've talked about business processes, and you can go really ham and create amazing things. So if you really are interested in how we take this application and make it a fully fledged application, please do let me know in the comments, and I'm happy to show you the progress. So I'm actually building this for my own little business, and I call myself a business, and we'll use this in our future demos. So thanks for being here, and see you on the next one.